Hey, what's up guys, so Emanon here and welcome to another video. So this is going to be the updated Penguin combo tutorial video for post Burst of Destiny. And I did actually manage to utilize a lot of these combos in real games in the RoboDuo YCS over this past weekend. So if you're interested in checking out the deck profile for that, I will have that linked both in the description box below as well as in the card in the top right. That's a good resource to check out if you want to kind of just see the underlying functions of this deck and how the deck is meant to operate. But these are going to be some pretty self-contained combos and unlike the previous combo tutorial video that I uploaded about 6 months ago before the release of these cards, I did actually try and make a lot of these cards not centered around Royal Penguin's Garden specifically because that card is generally an unsearchable 3 of. So the whole point of the build was to increase the number of starters to be able to get into your Penguin engine through maybe non-conventional means. So this is going to be a pretty good demonstration of that. So let's get started with this without any further ado. So the first one is going to be if you open Squire plus Nopenguin. This is not the most ideal setup, but it's fine. Generally, if you have to use Squire to combo, it makes it weaker because it's not used as an extender later on. But it still is pretty good in a scenario like this where you have some value to work with. So we're going to, of course, just begin with setting our Nopenguin, which triggers the effect of the Squire in the hand to summon itself to the field. And we're going to modulate its level down to 3. And you do want to generally be doing this even if you're not setting a Penguin specifically, or even like Nopenguin, just because it makes your opponent, if they're familiar with this deck that is, kind of believe that you are going for a Brave play, which in this case we are, but it is something to kind of think about. It makes maybe your opponent more cautious of letting this card resolve. If you have other extenders in your hand, that could be pretty helpful. But we're going to activate the ignition effect on the field to flip about our Nopenguin, and then predictably we're just going to synchro these off into the Penguin Brave. We're going to activate the effect of Brave and Chain Block with the Nopenguin, so we are now insulated from Ash Blossom, which is pretty cool. And then we are going to go ahead and summon our Penguin of choice. So I think a lot of people would intuitively, summon out their Penguin Soldier, which is a valid choice if you were choosing to play around Nibiru. Because of the fact that no Penguin initially was set, it doesn't actually count towards these summons for Nibiru. So you have Squire as 1, these as 2 and 3, and then this special summon will be number 4. So if you want to play around Nibiru, Penguin Soldier is actually a good choice to go for if you don't have the additional follow-up. But what I was going for a lot of the time, and what I recommend doing to maximize the follow-up that you have, is to go for the Glacial Beast Polar Penguin instead. So what we're going to do afterwards is go for the very innovative, fun line of play, which is just link these two away into Predaplant Verite Anaconda. And then we're just going to go for our Enforcer. This is the DPE version of this build. So we're just going to go and send our bricks and summon the Enforcer. And this is the interaction that the deck is designed to abuse, is the interaction between Enforcer plus the Polar Penguin, because if Polar Penguin is destroyed by a card effect, including your own card effects, and doesn't have to be face up as well, you do actually get to trigger it to go ahead and bounce any card your opponent controls to the hand. And because you started things off with no Penguin, you get to banish that card instead. So this way you have an additional interruption, and you have the follow-up in terms of the Enforcer itself coming back. You have Dasher to be able to summon out the myriad of monsters that you can top deck, and you have Celestial to draw 2 in the process. Now, I will say is that one of the examples where you could still go for this combo, even if you think they have Nibiru, is if you hard draw Fusion Destiny, because this card will be face down, and Nibiru only tributes face-up monsters. So the Verite Anaconda will be the 5th summon, and even if the Nibiru there, you'll still have this set Polar Penguin to be able to combo with your Enforcer if you hard draw the Fusion Destiny anyways. So you can just go ahead and if you get Nibiru, no problem, activate Fusion Destiny, summon your Enforcer, pop it and the Nibiru on their field, and then you still end up on pretty much the same board. And then you just trade out the Verite for the token, essentially. So that's one way you can kind of anticipate Nibiru and then play accordingly. And that is one of the best benefits to including Enforcer in this build. But we're now going to move on into towards the more interesting synchro lines. So see you in just a bit. So the first iteration of these synchro combos is going to involve literally any way to get into Christian Halqifibrax. This could be through a number of means. You can play Deep Sea Diva like I chose to in this build. You could play things like Plague Spreader Zombie. You can go for Despot 3 into Despot 1. You can go for like Righty-Lefty Driver. I also chose to play Sangan into Crusader Arborea through Almirage. There's a lot of ways to do this, but any way to put Halqifibrax onto the field is going to get you into your Penguin engine. And what's nice about this is that because this is generally going to be a one-card combo, that affords you a lot of ability to devote the space to just defensive cards, and you'll kind of see that in the deck profile if you watch through that. But yeah, let's go ahead and get started with this. So we're going to go ahead and in this case normal summon our Deep Sea Diva. This triggers the effect to go and special summon another copy of Diva from our deck. And then from this position, we can go and link these two off into our Halqifibrax. And then we're going to use the Halqifibrax effect on summon to go and special summon a Despot 1 from our deck. Getting a little ahead of ourselves here. We're going to link these two off for our Mecha Phantom Beast Auroradon, which activates its effect to summon out 3 Mecha Phantom Beast tokens, and that in the process triggers the Despot 1 in the graveyard to summon itself back to the field. And then afterwards, this is where we get back into our Penguin engine. So we're going to synchro forward into Cupid Pitch, which on summon modulates its level based on the level of the tuner used for its summon, so we can either increase or decrease it equal to that monster or tuner monster's level. So because we use a level 1 tuner, we're going to lower it to 3. And you can see where this is going. Now we have a 3 tuner and a 3 non-tuner, so we can go for our Synchro 6 into Penguin Brave. And the other cool thing about this is that Cupid Pitch has another effect where if it is used as synchro material for a synchro summon, you can burn your opponent equal to that monster's level times 100. So in this case, you're going to burn your opponent for 600, and then you get to search for any monster that is level 8 or lower with 600 defense from your deck to your hand. So we're going to go ahead and do that, as well as activate the Brave on the field. So we're going to go and summon a number of things. It depends on what you really want to go for. So there's like a lot of different plays, and I'll kind of show 2 different combos here. So the first one is going to be kind of the more standard approach. So we can set our Penguin Soldier, and then Cupid Pitch gets to burn our opponent, and then we can search for the best extender in the game, which is Penguin Champion, or Squire. I'm so used to calling this Champion still whenever I read it on EdoPro, but yeah. I'm going to go ahead and activate the Squire here, because of course a monster was set to our field, so we can summon it freely from our hand. And in this case, we don't need to actually modulate its level because we're going to go for a synchro play. And I did not play this in my build initially, but this is something that I have since included, which is Adamantipated Risen Dragite. So now you can go for your Dragite plus your Brave. So you have a Spell Trap Negate, and you have 2 monster bounces, which is pretty solid for kind of a 1-card combo. So you got 2 disruptions out of 1 card, and you have 4 other cards to work with. So that is definitely not too bad. The other line of play you can do is the line of play that I did much more frequently in the tournament itself. So that's why I didn't actually play the Dragite. But you can go for this instead. So the combo is just going to start out the exact same as before. So you're going to go into any means of Christian Halqifibrax, summon out Despot 1, and then you can go for your Auroradon. If they hand trap you at any point, it really just kind of depends on the composition of your hand, which extenders you have to work with. And Fusion Destiny is one of the best ways to just play 3 hand traps on like your Halqifibrax or your Auroradon. So that's like another benefit of playing that, because obviously this combo is, I would not say invulnerable to disruption by any means, but we're going to go ahead and just do the same thing as we did before. We are still going to decrease the level because we do need to get into our Penguin engine. And then we're going to go into our Brave as we did previously. This triggers both the effects of Cupid Pitch and the Penguin Brave, but this time we're actually going to try and extend a little bit more. So we're going to summon the Great Emperor Penguin face down, and then Cupid Pitch does its thing. It burns our opponent and then searches for the Penguin Squire. And then we get to trigger our Squire yet again. And then this time we're going to go for more synchro-oriented plays, but we're not going to leave the Brave on the field. So because of this, we are actually going to modulate the Squire down by 1 to make it level 4 tuner. Here we're going to activate the effect. We're going to go and flip up our Emperor Penguin, and then we're going to tribute off the Emperor Penguin so we can get more penguins into rotation here. So we're going to pick up Nopenguin and Glacial Beast Polar Penguin. If you're playing Ninja, you could go for like a Ninja plus say a Penguin Soldier, and then Ninja to flip down Penguin Soldier. So I get you like an extra body because we are going to actually be making 2 different synchro bosses. So the first one is going to be Ravenous Crocodragon Archithis with our Mecha Phantom Beast token, our non-tuner Nopenguin, and our level 3 tuner Polar Penguin. And because we actually used 2 non-tuners, we get to draw 2 cards off of this. And that's good for digging for like hand traps, for Fusion Destiny specifically, so you can kind of add to the composition of your board. But we're also going to go and turn these 2 now. Not really any point in keeping Brave in the field since we don't have any penguins to flip up anymore. We can simply go for our Sword Soul Supreme Sovereign Chengying. And this is pretty cool because you're going to have 4 of the cards in your hand. So this is actually not just 2,000. It's going to be, what is that? It's going to be 4,000. And furthermore, it has a quick effect, of course, to just pitch any 2 cards. So it can be a combination of the cards you drew plus the cards that you opened with to pop any card in the field. This can also include your Chengying itself. So this is good into matchups like Phantom Knights, like Eldritch, just stuff that natively wants to banish their own cards. So between this Halqifibrax combo and the last one, you kind of pick and choose based on if you value, like say the Dragite more, or if you value this kind of play more. But even in a scenario where like they're not banishing their own cards, you can actually go and Archithus or Cracker Dragon, you can pitch 2 to target the Changing itself. It can protect itself. So actually, I can shut that off right here. So you can go ahead, target your own Changing, and then use Changing's protection effect to just banish one card from your graveyard. And then if your opponent has a card on their field in the graveyard, this does trigger the Changing effect because it doesn't care where the card is banished from. Just as long as the card is banished, you get to trigger that second effect. So this is a nice means of removal. This is good against, again, just decks that normally want to be banishing their own cards anyways, so you have the pop as well as a Changing. But in worst case scenarios, you can kind of do this nifty play as well. So those are kind of the two plays with just any means of going to Halqifibrax. You access your Penguin engine, and you can kind of choose where to branch off from there. But next up, we're going to add some more extenders into the mix to see how this combo can actually deviate a bit. Okay, before we get started with this next combo here, just wanted to say that if you are enjoying what you're seeing, please do consider leaving a like on the video and subscribing to the channel. It really does go a long way in kind of helping out this channel long term, just through promoting the videos through whatever YouTube algorithmic magic there is. And additionally, if you are interested in supporting this content directly, I do in fact have a Patreon, which is linked in the description box below. I do just want to thank all my Patreons on the screen for you guys right now. For just helping to make this long form and informative content possible. If you do want to get some cool rewards while helping to promote, again, just the ability for me to make this content more consistently, then definitely would recommend checking out the Patreon there. But let's go ahead and just continue on with these combos right here. So this one is going to be if you open up Sangan plus Squire, and that's a cool combination because this allows you to play around hand traps fairly effectively. And, you could just do a combo kind of previously to what we just did with all the Halqifibrax shenanigans, where when you get to the point of keep a pitch, you can just search something besides Squire since you already have the Squire in hand. So here we could just easily go normal summon Sangan, make Almiraj search Arborea, and go on our merry way, which is totally fine. But this is another way that you can actually go about doing things, especially if you want to end on an Omni Negation in Savage Dragon. So we're going to start things off by, of course, setting our Sangan in this case, because we do want to trigger our Squire to summon itself. Now this, of course, leads ourselves to a pretty big choke point in Imperm on Squire on field. But that being said, if our opponent is not, cognizant of what our deck does, they're going to be mostly more inclined to just hand trap the Halqifibrax or Rorodon instead, which is what we're aiming to play through. And like I mentioned previously, we do want to reduce our Squire's level, even if we're not going for Penguin Brave, just because it's good practice. So we're going to go and flip up our Sangan, and then link these two away into Halqifibrax right here. And unfortunately, we can't chain block with a Sangan because it is mandatory. So we do have to go Halqifibrax Chainlink 2, but that's not a big deal because, again, this is designed to sort of play on, Ash or Imperm on Halqifibrax anyways. So what we're going to search is Crusader Arborea still, and even though we could very well just search a hand trap, the thing is that because we use Squire to start this combo off in hand, we can't actually use it as an extender later down the line to just freely summon itself. So we have to be mindful of this. We have to reroute our combo slightly. If we do have the proper extenders to make this work, you can get away with potentially not searching Arborea here, but that is something to sort of bear in mind. But yeah, we are going to then turn these, of course, into the Auroradon, and then we're going to Auroradon effect to summon out 3 tokens. It should be noted here as well that if you get Impermed on Auroradon, the restriction of not being able to link summon for the rest of the turn is also going to be negated. So you can just go special summon Crusader Arborea and then link off into Verite Anaconda and go Enforcer, and that's kind of like, the backup plan, the last resort sort of thing. But that's kind of, again, the way we can play 3 hand traps is, if we just have the Arborea here, we can go and play through that disruption. So it is something that's pretty important and something to think about if you open these cards specifically. So here we're just going to go into our Cupid pitch stuff, but this time we're actually going to increase the level. And the reason for that is that, again, we're not really as concerned about getting Squire to our hand and summoning it because, well, we already went through Squire's hand effect, so we're not going to get that value this turn. So like I mentioned before, if you do want to get an Omni Negation on the field in the form of like a Boiled Savage Dragon, this is what I would recommend. So we can go ahead and trigger both Savage and Pitch. So we can go and equip and then go burn our opponent for 800 this time and then search for follow-up. So we can either grab Sangan or we can grab our Squire. It really just depends on the contents of our hand, which one you prefer. If you have a lot of normal summons, you can just set and then trigger the Squire. It helps you to kind of just get more bodies on the field. So I would recommend getting a Squire in this case. If you want just more ways to potentially get like condensed follow-up in the form of Sangan that gets you like more value by itself, that's what I recommend there. But in this case, for the sake of example, we're just going to go for Squire. And we still have this extender, so we're just going to go and summon the Arborea for free. And it happens to be a level 3 tuner, so we can just, sync it off for our Penguin Brave right here. So this, again, doesn't end on more interruptions than the previous combos necessarily, but what it does do is that it gets you to one more follow-up, and it also gets you into Savage, which is not really an option previously because Squire's restriction into, that it can only be used as synchro material for waters definitely matters in the previous versions of the combo, which is why we had to kind of like deviate slightly in those cases. But yeah, this is a pretty cool option if you want to A, play through hand traps, and B, get more follow-up here. This is kind of the combo for you. So that is going to be it for this combo. And then the next combos are just simply going to enable us to actually utilize Garden efficiently. So these last few combos are just going to simply be utilizing if we open the best singular penguin card in the deck, which is Royal Penguin's Garden. So this allows you to access, of course, your penguins a lot earlier into the combo, which manipulates sort of the resources that you have in terms of the various penguin bodies you get on the field, which is pretty noteworthy. So this first one is going to be if you open Garden plus anything to discard, can be literally any card in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! So let's go ahead and get started. So we're going to begin, of course, with activating our Garden, and then we can use the effect to search for Emperor, again, assuming we have nothing else to work with. This is kind of not ideal because I am only playing one Emperor in this build, so it sort of is limiting in what sort of extenders you can get to, but if you wanted to play a heavier Penguin package, I would suggest maybe going for a second copy of Emperor or a copy of Puny Penguin, either would be fine, and then potentially a copy of Penguin Ninja to sort of abuse the fact that Brave would stay on your field. But assuming we don't have any of that and we're playing just kind of like the more condensed Penguin package, so we brick less often, we can go and do this play instead. So we're going to go ahead and activate Garden to modulate our Emperor down to level 4 and then pitch our random card. And then we can now normal summon our level 4 Emperor and then activate the effect to go and summon 2 from the deck. So here we can easily, just go, no Penguin, Polar Penguin, and then go for our our Penguin Brave, bring back the no Penguin, and then go for the same combo as combo number 1 essentially. That plays harder into Nibiru a little bit because essentially you're going to be using this as like one of your summons. So you don't get to like kind of cheat around Nibiru by like setting a card and bypassing the Nibiru account that way. But what you could do as well is go for no Penguin plus any of the Penguin tuners. So you can go for Squire or the Polar Penguin, doesn't particularly matter too much. But here what we're going to be doing is simply going into Halqifibrax. So the way we're doing this is making it so that we get no Penguin engraved earlier, so we can use that as an extra body later down the line. So we are going to ultimately wind up doing the exact same stuff as we have been doing. And if at any point you feel that this deck is too reliant on the Rordon combo, which is a fair criticism, what I would suggest doing is potentially alternating your combo lines based on anticipating what your opponent's hand traps are or like what matchup they're playing, and you can sort of just tailor your combos accordingly. Like you don't always have to go for this. Like I just mentioned, you can simply pivot towards a Brave line instead, and that's what I like about this build is that you have the flexibility of going between these Rordon plays and just going straight up into Brave at a lot of different points in time. So that is definitely something to think about. But yeah, we're just going to do the same stuff as we were doing last time. So we're just going to go ahead and use Hcabe Pitch. Here we can decrease the level because we haven't used Squire's hand effect yet. So we're just going to grab that right now. And right here we have Pitch and Brave, and we have no Penguin triggering as well. So that allows us to go ahead and get this extra body on the field. And then we can go and search for summon first a copy of Penguin Soldier, because again, in this build, we're only on one Emperor, so we don't really have the option to get the second one. So that's like, it might seem like a drawback, but it's actually not too bad here. So we're going to grab our champion, or Squire. Again, one day I will actually remember to call it by its TCG name instead of just reading what's on EdaPro. But anyways, we're just going to go ahead and summon itself to the field, and we are going to modulate it down to level 4. And we are just going to go and synchro these away into Changing. So this is cool because this is, again, just one of the synergies of this deck, because you can actually go ahead and activate Brave on your opponent's turn, flipping up your Penguin Soldier, bouncing 2 of their monsters, and because no Penguin's coming back, those monsters get banished, and then you get to trigger the Changing as well. Unfortunately, this does have to banish both from field and graveyard, so it does make it to where your opponent has to commit quite a lot of resources and still have activated a monster effect in order for this to kind of pop off fully. But that being said, it's a great way to kind of just utilize the synergies between the Penguin engine and just your synchro bosses. So that is one way to utilize just kind of the garden interactions. The second garden combo and the final combo of this video is going to be if you open garden plus Nopenguin. And I did have this sort of as its own combo in the previous combo video, but we're going to be doing the different approach in terms of how we're going to actually set up through, again, the Auroradon plays. So you can easily do the same stuff as last time, where you get the Nopenguin as an extra body earlier rather than later, which doesn't actually hinder you too much because you still have enough space to do like your Despot 1 plus your Mech Fanbase token plays. But this is kind of just an alternate way of doing things. So what we can do is we can actually take advantage of the fact that we get to choose what penguin body we keep on the board ahead of time, and then kind of work with that accordingly. Because previously what we did is that we had to wait until Nopenguin came back to use that as the extender to end on the Chengying, and that's pretty much the only play we had there. But here we get to, again, trigger the Nopenguin right away, so we get a myriad of choices, and then this lets us set up however we really want to. So in this case, we're just going to be going for a Squire and a copy of Polar Penguin. And we're going to leave this Polar Penguin on board as level 3 tuner. Because here we can just simply go into, Halqifibrax plays. You've seen this about 4 other times in this video, so I'm not going to really commentate over this too much. But the whole point of this is to kind of act similarly to the Crusader Arborea in the combo where we had Squire plus Sangan. That way, we just have the ability to go into Penguin Brave sort of afterwards. So that, I think, is a pretty cool way to utilize the interaction of just starting out with the Nopenguin, because getting that body on the field before makes a big difference. Because Nopenguin is mandatory, again, we can't really choose the timing of that. So we also have to be sort of cognizant of this. But yeah, here we can do something as simple as just raising the level of Hcabe pitch and then going into our Synchro 8 of choice. In this case, we can go for Savage pretty reliably. And then we can go and just equip here. And then we can grab our pitch follow-up for next turn. And then we can grab like either our Sangan or our Squire. Here we can consider grabbing Sangan because we haven't gone through Arborea yet, which is pretty relevant because that's just a free 1-card Halqifibrax into like Selene access code, which is pretty good. And then here we can finish things off with the Brave. And then we can Brave effect to set our Penguin Soldier. This is the one combo where I think that having the extra extenders would matter quite a bit. Because if you had a second copy of Emperor and you had like Ninja in your deck, you can actually search the Squire off of the Hcabe pitch and then set the Emperor. And then on the Emperor summon, you get to summon your Squire, and then so you get to Squire flip up your Emperor. You get to Emperor Tribute itself to summon out Ninja plus the Penguin Soldier. You get to Ninja flip down your Penguin Soldier, and then you have your level 5 Squire plus your 3 Ninja, and then you can make Dragite on top of this. So by adding those 2 extra bricks, you do get to end on 1 more interruption, which is something that is not to be taken lightly. It definitely matters. But you do, of course, relinquish your follow-up, and you have to play a couple of cards that are worse to draw by themselves. Like drawing Ninja by itself really is not that good. So that is something to think about. And another thing that I do want to note here, I mentioned in the deck profile, but just in case, is that, yes, you do have to draw or keep Penguin Soldier in your deck. So if you draw it, it makes these combos dead. That is, again, kind of the benefit of playing Fusion Destiny, is that if you have Fusion Destiny in your hand and you can just set a Polar Penguin instead, you're still fine because you do get to just, have the Enforcer plus the Polar interaction, like I said before. And we actually can now just use this Brave for whatever Synchro fodder we want to. So that can just alter the anatomy of these combos ever so slightly. But I hope this gives you a pretty good understanding of what the deck is trying to accomplish. Really, we can use the Penguins as starters or extenders and get into whatever Synchro bosses we want to. And failing that, again, we can just back up into Enforcer and use that either independently as a strong boss monster, or ideally we could use it with the Polar Penguin to still synergize and get access to our Penguin package that way. But yeah, that is going to do it for this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Please do leave a like, comment, and subscribe if you did enjoy. And until next time, I will catch you in the next video. See you guys.